Welcome back, Egos family. This is episode 10. I am Jacob
Sorry.
Grijalva.
Yeah, and I'm Mario Rodriguez. And before we get into this episode, we do want to say trigger warning for anybody who gets triggered really easily when it talks about this episode does contain a lot of content about mental health, and we will provide a couple of websites if you guys really need help down below in the description on YouTube and on Instagram.
Yes. This episode definitely will be on the more serious side of conversation. It will be a little bit of a contrast to what you may be used to on this show. However, our goal is to, cover a wide variety of topics.
Yeah, and if you have a fucking problem, just
a lot of things.
Fucking unsubscribe.
That's true.
Bitch.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Anyway, one thing I do want to say, though, is that you can completely disregard what we said last episode about us being in the same clothing, because the episode we recorded after that fucking sucked because we were tired. So we're redoing it, and this is it. However, we're changing topic.
Wait. Before we get into a serious topic, you know what's funny? That every time we have our main topic as school stories, it just never gets posted. Yeah. It just gets deleted because we don't like it, or it just something goes wrong.
Yeah. I guess God just doesn't want us to cover school stories, which is fine.
Yeah.
So today, obviously, like you said, the main focus is a lot on mental health. I think a good way to start this.
I'm so sorry. So sorry. I don't mean to be laughing. It's just right before we started, I don't know. I don't even know what happened. I just started laughing because something funny happened. I swore this is gonna be a serious episode. I just had to get my giggles out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess a good way to start off this conversation is we had uploaded a poll to our Instagram story, asking if you guys. It's completely confidential. We're not gonna say anybody's response now. But the question was, if anybody, if you or anybody you knew, suffered from anxiety in any sort of way. Every single person who responded voted yes. So I think this goes to show, and one thing that we should make very clear initially is that feeling any of these sorts of feelings, whether it's anxiety or depression or just general sense of sadness or anything of the sort, no matter what's causing it, it's okay and completely normal. That poll alone, I guess the main purpose of it was to show how common it really is, because I think anybody could have guessed that on a poll like that the answer would be yes, because almost everybody I know has had issues with anxiety before, and if they haven't, you almost certainly know somebody who does. It's definitely it's a very common thing.
Same with depression. It wasn't the same thing as anxiety with the poll, but it's also a very common thing for someone at some point in their life to feel very depressed and have a very depressive episode or a point in their life where it was just too much to handle, and they're just in this weird funk that they are not really sure how to deal with.
Yeah. I know for a lot of people, it's very hard to express that kind of thing, because I know a lot of people who have always been a little bit hesitant or nervous to speak about the way they feel, because they a lot of times it's because they are in a situation where somebody or something makes them feel like they, even if they were to come out and say something about it, it wouldn't change anything and it wouldn't matter and nobody would listen or care. And that is kind of sad, because I know the feeling. I know a lot of adults nowadays, a lot of them are very understanding, which is very good, but a lot of them also say oh, when I was a kid, this kind of stuff wasn't around. Yeah. Like not everybody got anxious like that.
People
what's the world coming to?
Yeah, a lot of adults would just be like, I had to suck it up, so you just have to suck it up too. It's not that big a big deal.
And a lot of times they try to pass it off as tough love, and I I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm not gonna go into like, what is correct and not correct responses or parenting, but I guess the point is, don't be afraid to reach out. And like Mario said before, we will be providing links in the description of the YouTube video if anybody needs any kind of help. Everybody needs help at some point. Mostly everybody. Like, I've definitely reached out to people and asked for help before. And it's very common to have to do that, and it's quite okay. Regardless of what people might tell you, it's perfectly fine to reach out to somebody and ask for help. And if you feel like there's nobody, then there are dedicated numbers and people to reach out to for that kind of thing.
Yeah, whether it's like a friend, a teacher, a parent, a counselor, there's always somebody willing to listen to make sure that you're okay. Of course, like different like people you're just gonna have to be careful what you say, because a teacher might take something more serious than like your best friend,
Yeah.
And it is honestly pretty hard. I feel like it's a bit more difficult for males to express their emotions because of the toxic masculinity that the world has like given us. And I'm not saying like guys have it like terrible. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like when it comes to like opening up and talking about their feelings, it's just one thing that is pretty difficult to do, with the fact that you're a man, you're supposed to just suck it up, you're not supposed to be crying, men don't cry. Like I just feel like that's just so stupid.
For sure. Those are definitely things that I've heard from people growing up. Like even if it's something as simple as, not even a mental health thing, even if it's something as simple as an injury, a lot of male children are raised to be like, oh, men don't cry, suck it up, like just push yourself through it. And that does affect a lot of people in a negative way,
because you're basically
seen it firsthand.
When you're older, you're just gonna oppress those like issues, suppress, yes.
There we go. That really does affect you when you get older, because if you're raised to think that way, then most people who are raised to think that way will never really see the other side of the coin. And we're not, comparing the way anybody feels to anybody else, because, of course, this is all very situational, and a lot of it is by, circumstance. But I think generally in society, I think it has kind of been the trend for quite a while now that the toxic masculinity thing has really been prominent in society. And coming from two guys, we also want to reach out to all the male audience and say, it is equally as okay for you to feel any kind of way that you do.
And of course, we're not saying that like we do, like it's, or we're not saying that like it's hard. It's not okay. We're not saying that it's easy for us to just express emotion and just like cry it out and just like do all of that. It's still pretty difficult, or at least it's difficult to do in like front of people or going to people. Like it's still pretty hard no matter what.
Yeah.
But we do like figure out ways to like deal with it and figure out how to like still talk about our feelings and maybe cry, maybe shoulder cry on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a good way to really show you guys what we're talking about, I think it might be good for us to talk about ourselves a little bit.
Experiences. Yeah,
because if you can relate to us, then that automatically goes to show that you're not alone in the way that you're feeling. I definitely have pretty, I'd say, generalized anxiety. I don't think it's over any like one particular thing. Yeah, like I don't think mine is generally triggered from one certain thing. There are definitely things that make it worse than others. I personally worry a lot about my health, so like if I notice that one thing is wrong, I will go on Google and like put myself down the rabbit hole of that I'm dying.
I get exactly what you mean, and it's interesting because I remember talking about I was having a rough time last weekend and how I was just like struggling a little bit mentally, and like it was like I think it was like the first time I've ever really opened up to you, like with that type of stuff, and I just remember you saying same,
Yeah.
And I was like, what? You too?
Everything is so much more common than you probably think it is.
Yeah, you just like, no, yeah, like, yeah, I felt every single thing that you've ever felt.
Yeah.
I know what you mean by like when your mind is just racing nonstop all the time. And I'm like, oh no, cool.
I wish that I could go back in time and say to my middle school self when I first began to like feel all these different feelings. I wish I could go back in time and be like, you know what, like it's gonna be fine.
God, middle school me was going through it, man. That was just one of the lowest points of my life.
I think you'd be surprised, genuinely. I think you'd be surprised how
Everyone.
difficult of a time middle school and high school is for a lot of people. Like I know a lot of people and particularly adults I find say that being in middle school and high school is the best time of your life. Enjoy it while you have it because you're gonna get older.
I don't.
But
I was like, what's so good about this? I was like, what are y'all talking about? I was like, what's the hype about? Like, what?
Mental health aside, first off, middle school is prison. You can't do anything.
It was worse than high school.
Yeah.
You would think that it would get worse when you get older. It was way worse in middle school than in high school.
Like, it's so weird because when you're in like kindergarten, right? You feel like you have a lot of freedom because a lot of the times you're doing like very easy, pointless things, and you like, you know, teachers can't be too strict in kindergarten because what are you gonna do? Like scream at a child for talking when they're in kindergarten? Like, come on. So obviously when you're in kindergarten you feel a little free, and then elementary school is also cool because you get those cool teachers sometimes. They're like, instead of doing anything in class today, we're gonna go out and do some kickball, you know?
Yeah.
But then you get to middle school and
everything is just such a drastic turn. Like, god damn. Yeah. And that's when you're like, your hormones are just going, you know what I mean?
The hormones are going.
No, and I'm letting y'all know, your lowest point in life is probably going to be middle school. I'm not going to lie to you.
Possible.
Of course,
it's possible.
There's other
I wouldn't say your
on.
life. I would say your early life. I'd say your beginning to upper teen
20s,
development.
To 20, early 20s. Like, probably not the happiest you're going to be.
Yeah, no.
You're going to have a lot of low... There's no matter what, you're going to have a low point in middle school. Like, a lot of them. Like, maybe, like, once a week or, like, every period.
The only thing I miss about middle school is having some of the friends that I had and don't have anymore. But besides that, middle school really was not it. Middle school sucked. And then high school got better because you did have a little more freedom, and college is actually, like, really fucking cool.
Top tier.
Yeah.
Top tier.
My college is pretty
When
sick.
people say my best life was in college, correct.
Yeah, no,
so far, that's correct.
I have definitely benefited the most out of being in college.
Absolutely.
And the sense of freedom is nice, you know, particularly because I don't live at home, and really when I'm at school, I enjoyed the freedom.
No, yeah,
like
agree.
I kind of like being independent and on my own and not reliant of my family because I can just like do what I want to when I want to. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of my point. Like, I wish I could go back to middle school because now things are like fine, and middle school was like, bro, this fucking sucks. Like, if this is what my life is gonna be like forever, then like shit, I don't want to do it.
No, yeah.
But I wish I could go back now and show them that, like, show myself that, you know, it does get better from there.
Absolutely. I just want to give my like younger self hope.
Yeah.
I just like, damn, Shadi, it'll get better. I swear.
And at that age, I will say, I didn't want to share anything with anybody. Now I'm a very open person because I've gone through all that stuff in my own head, and I kind of figured out that, yeah, everybody else is feeling this way too. But when you start feeling that way for the first time, and I know we're not supposed to have any of a younger audience, but if we do, I kind of direct this towards you. It's going to feel like you can't talk to anybody when you first get these feelings because it's going to be the first time, and you're just going to think in your head, what if I'm going insane? Like, what if nobody else feels this way? But trust me, almost everybody you know is probably going through the same
But no one
thing.
will ever say anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you're like sitting by like a campfire and you're all around just getting deep.
That's fun though.
No, yeah,
that is the best.
Absolutely. But that's why it's the best. Like, that's in middle school, and you're just doing that around like summertime, and you're like, guys, yeah, I've been going through it. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to follow my dreams. And it's interesting because when you in high school you realize like you're like a lot more able to talk about it and you get closer with your friends because they're also going through some stuff, and life just gets easier when you like are able to have that one person just to like
Yeah.
go to, you know.
And it's definitely easier as you get older. And I'm not saying this for everybody because for some people it's definitely not the case. But I know for me personally, and this definitely applies to a lot of people, as you get older, talking to adults becomes easier because at that point you basically are an adult. So it's like you're kind of just relating with that sort of age group now.
Yeah, after 15 they'll look at you differently.
Yeah, no, because I obviously when I was in middle school and stuff, I didn't tell my mother anything. Like I didn't talk to my parents about that kind of stuff. But now that I'm older, I'm pretty comfortable talking to them about it because it's kind of weird. It kind of goes both ways because parents won't tell you the way they're feeling until you're older too, because I guess they assume that you don't like understand these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's happened to me.
You guys children and parents will kind of meet up at a certain point around like the age of like 16, where the kid just finally decides to be like, "Mom, I've been going through some shit," and then the mom will be like, "Yeah, you know, I got you." But it takes up until then, so that definitely probably contributes to why people feel like they can't talk to them about it. Because I feel like parents themselves aren't necessarily the most open sometimes.
Yeah, especially because they're trying to look like they're the strong person inside and outside.
And you know, I'm not a parent, but I totally understand where that point of view comes from.
Absolutely,
because you're trying to be the
best version of like yourself.
You're trying to be the light in their life and all that. But at some point, I think it is also a little bit good to be real and genuinely be your authentic self, whether or not it has
every once in a
some
while
bad connotations.
Yeah, and I think, and to people who like do like have like maybe just one parent or maybe both that just don't will never understand like your feelings, I'm like truly sorry, but like there are people that are willing to listen. I promise you.
100%. Keep in mind your role model, I guess, and the person you look up to the most definitely does not have to be your parents.
Absolutely.
I know that a lot of people are raised that way to be like, oh yeah, you gotta love your parents with your whole heart and tell them everything and talk to them about anything. But some parents just aren't genuinely are not fit for that.
Or a good person.
Yeah, and some parents are definitely not good people either. So
you're also gonna just like have moments when you're growing up like very like have a lot of like spite towards your parents for no reason, just because like hormones are just gonna get to you, and you might go into like this depressive state of just like, why can't like our relationship be more, or why can't I just go talk to them, why does it have to be like this? And or it might be your anxiety saying, I'm just like so scared of like doing something where it just might prevent me from even building more onto the relationship that we already have, you know?
One saying that I really do believe in, and I always have believed in it growing up, is your friends are the family that you get to choose. And
absolutely.
That to me is a very powerful statement, because for a lot of people, their family are not actually they're not, either they're not blood or they're not really reliable people to look up to. And that's why I'm telling you, man, it is perfectly okay for you to have people to look up to that are not in your immediate family at all. Like, you could have friends who could be your, I wouldn't say parental figure, but they'll give you the type of guidance that you need in that kind of sense. They could definitely be a friend. It could be a different family member. It doesn't have to be your parents, There's plenty of people you can go to.
Absolutely. And there's like there's counselors at school. Majority of high schools have psychiatrists, to help you out, especially if you're like maybe having like a very depressive episode or a panic attack and you just need of course you do have to be mindful, but you can't just say anything to them, due to the fact that like if you are like even jokingly like gonna harm yourself, they're unfortunately do have to tell
they
somebody.
do have to take it seriously. It's really weird because sometimes I think about the fact that when I was in elementary school and before, like, this wasn't like a thing. Like, not that it wasn't a thing, but I'm saying like generally in humans, I didn't get anxiety when I was in elementary school and beforehand. And it's weird because life was so effortless and very, very bliss when I was that young. And it's weird to think that there's a point where like one day you just become so self-aware that it's like, oh, wow, I exist and I can feel. It's like I always wish that I could go to the day where I really truly became self-aware and it just clicked in my head that I was just like a sentient being.
I think mine was the same way. I definitely do think I had like a sense of fear like more than like a usual person when I was younger due to but like for me I went through like a lot of traumatic things like when I was young, and it's like hard to remember my childhood. I don't know if that's like bad to say, but I just know like it was like really rough to like go through when I was little, so it was like really hard to remember like basic things about my childhood. But I remember like getting finally happier in like high school, and I just like I remember like crazy details in high school because I was just genuinely so happy. But I remember like a lot of elementary school moments or like middle school moments where I just truly cannot remember because it was so traumatic.
That does happen a lot for a lot of people. They just like block out completely whole memories because they just don't want to remember it.
Yeah. And it's maybe it's not even, it wasn't even blocking out like traumatic moments. I think it was just like since I'd never wanted to think about my childhood, maybe like my brain was just like, you just don't remember it at that point, you know, because you haven't thought about it in so long or something like that.
It could also be that just like for some people, it's definitely the fact that just so many things happen in such a short span of time that it's just generally difficult to remember all of those things happening. Because if you get a lot of information thrown at you at any given time, like the chances of you remembering all of it are probably quite slim. So, you know, especially if they're like not positive experiences that you wouldn't want to remember, then you're probably not going to remember them from being that young. And it's very strange because every time I see like a picture or a video of me when I was under a certain age, I'm like, dude, like I wish I could remember those days. Like I wish I could remember what I felt at a young age. Because I genuinely can't even remember how like being in my own body felt. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Because I'm saying,
I know,
like, I just don't know how it felt to be at that time. Like, I genuinely just can't remember, like, any specific day or the way my body felt, the way my brain worked. I can't remember any of it. And it's so bizarre.
Oh, interesting. No, yeah, I think I know what you mean. Just by, like, if having a memory and you're just like, I don't know any specific day or how I, like, truly felt.
Yeah.
Or, like, how it felt to be in that body at that time. I know exactly what you mean.
Because, like, I know the way I felt and the way my brain worked and how I thought all the way back to, like, 3-4 years ago. But after you go past a certain point, it's like what? How did I even think? Like, how did I process information? And it's kind of funny because my dad's been texting me a lot lately and reminding me of my childhood because he'll send me pictures of me as a kid with like a huge smile on my face.
And you're like, what the fuck?
Because I had a generally happy childhood. Like for me, things got a little worse as I got older. Like, to be completely open with you guys, as high school started approaching, like towards the end of middle school, my parents decided to split. And, you know, that obviously hit me pretty hard because as a child, my childhood was pretty damn good. Like, I had a good family. I was financially stable. I, you know, had an older brother who I used to hang out with all the time. Things were just good. I was living the normal average life. Yeah. But, you know, as I got older, like, reality started to hit and real things started to happen to me. And, like, I didn't even experience the first loss of a family member until 2 or 3 years ago, you know? So I didn't really, like, know what family issues were like then. I definitely went through some traumatic things in early middle school. I definitely did go through a lot of, like, pretty traumatic things that definitely still affect me. But, like I didn't know about any family issues. Like apart from my social life, I was living a pretty damn good life. Anyway, my dad keeps sending me like pictures and videos of me like super happy being a kid, and he'll text me and be like, "Yeah, I remember when you were so happy and energetic,"
Oh shit.
and he'll literally say to my
No.
face one day, it's like a switch went off, and now you're just so mellow and relaxed, and you just don't really want to do anything.
Oh gosh.
And it's like,
Oh my gosh.
and he'll get like sad about it, like he'll get upset because he'll be like,
Yeah, and I know like he probably like means like the best intentions, but like
yeah,
it
no, I don't
is-
take it in a negative way because he's literally just like reminiscing about
No, yeah,
my early life.
But that is, I feel like for me, yikes, I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
yeah, it made
That
me
would've-
sad
I would have taken it to heart a little bit, only due to the fact that like, damn, like my dad saying that like I just became so different and like more of like a depressive way, and like shit, man.
no, yeah, I definitely took it to heart.
That my mom said the same thing, because my mom, I'm not gonna bash my mother or anything, but it's a little harder for her to understand like mental health and all that jazz. But my dad was like probably like the person to go to if I ever really needed to talk to. I
Yeah.
remember like, because he's like, you know, like traditional, like he's the man of the house, so obviously he's gonna stress out if like something is just like not planning correctly or going correctly. And I remember my mom going, and it was like, do you remember when you were sorry,
Oh, no.
I was like, it was just sorry, I'm just laughing to like cope with it.
When there's a laugh before it, you know it's really dramatic.
Literally, she goes, yeah, remember when you were happy, or like
Oh my
remember when
God.
like you didn't say that you had like anxiety. And I'm like, oh yeah,
Bro,
thanks.
that's life. Well, like,
Remember? Do I remember? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I
Thank
do.
you. Thank you for like reminding me now that I remember. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Man, no, those comments are definitely taken to heart.
Yeah.
I know my dad didn't mean anything by it. Like he
No.
wasn't like trying to say like, oh yeah, you're a worse person now or anything. But when I was younger, I was like over hyper active, and
Yeah.
I would just like run around and like throw tantrums and shit and just throw things. But I was also, very playful, and I liked to like, I was very full of love, and at some point I kind of just mellowed out because, especially like at the end of middle school, like when my parents split and everything, I became very isolated because they were very stressed out on their own, dealing with their own shit. It's not like I could like really go to them and say a bunch of shit. I had a lot of friends who helped me out, but like I wasn't gonna try and say all that shit to my parents because they were going through it for themselves at that time.
Oh no, yeah, that's a big thing too. Like if there's something like really like family wise like going on, and
Yeah.
like and you're like in middle school and that it's going on, and you see that your parents are like in some sort of distress, like it's really hard to go to them if
Yeah.
you're feeling down or like upset, because you don't want to just also put that burden onto them again.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like it's like super situational, and I know that like good loving parents would definitely put you first before
Absolutely.
any other issues, because a lot of parents have the child first ideal, which is great.
But when you're young,
But-
like you just don't really truly realize that that's the case.
Yeah, and even now, honestly, like if they were going through their own shit, like I'm, especially being older now, like I can handle my own shit a little bit better than I could then.
Yeah.
Because I have the experience. So even now, like if they were going through shit, I wouldn't want to put that kind of burden on them. But yeah, no, it's just when my dad said that to me, I was like, shit, man, like what did happen? Because I kind of think it's just me getting old, but it made me really think, because I was even talking to Ryan about it. I was like, dude, did something happen to me? Like, did I go through something like
Yeah.
that? But I think I was just I was just a hyper kid. I think that's what it is, and I definitely became less. I don't want to say loving, because I do love a lot of people, but I just didn't show it as much. Now I don't show it as much. Oh, I love you too, Mark.
I love you, bro.
Fuck.
Oh shit, we're getting sentimental up in
shit.
this bitch. We don't do this a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Me and him.
Yeah, we don't.
We're definitely gonna make it after.
God
Sorry.
damn it.
Sorry. Seriously.
He's right though.
But I actually want to go backtrack a little bit about
Okay.
our experiences a little bit more, and
Yeah.
with anxiety, because when it really like made me happy when you said like same.
Yeah.
When it came to like me like expressing my feelings and things that I was going through last weekend,
Yeah.
and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what? I said it, and then you go, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, that's interesting because I haven't opened up. It's like really hard for me to open up.
Yeah.
But when it comes to opening up to my friends, it takes a bit for me to get there to that point. So for your anxiety, I know you and me, we really go through it, and I think our anxiety has really humbled us in life and really gave a lot more appreciation.
Yeah.
But so one of the things that I caught, I was like, my mind just never stops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've met other people with anxiety, and like generalized anxiety disorder, and they I've just never heard anybody else say, yeah, my mind is constantly racing.
Yeah.
My does not stop, bro. Like I could be thinking about like 20 things at the same time.
Yeah.
And just like it could be things in the future, things in the past, things that I have to do right now. Like it's insane. So what I want to ask is like, how do you like or hopefully you have an answer, but like how do you cope with just like,
so
or at least how have you like dealt with it for the past couple of years?
Yeah. This is a good question, and I've actually been asked this also by Ryan recently because
the three Latinos going through it, man.
Yeah, literally.
Three anxiety disorders, man.
I've been asked this question a few times before, and I really do like helping people because I think that my answer for this is probably like pretty insightful. I think the best thing to do is find a hobby or something that you really love to do, and regardless of how like A, expensive it is to do, B, difficult, it doesn't matter, just fucking do it. Because one thing that you will find is when you have anxiety like that, especially generalized anxiety where so many things can trigger it, if you aren't doing anything with yourself, then it only gets worse.
No, yeah.
Because if
literally,
because I know a lot of people, I used to do it too. When I would get anxious, I would just shut down and like isolate myself and just lay down. But that is the worst thing you can do. Because the minute you're alone in your own space, like a lot of like sometimes it works for people. They'll be like, yeah, I gotta desocialize and take a breather and just let it go, and that works for some people.
But also like that is like the correct solution in some cases.
Yeah, but if you're like going through an anxiety attack or something and you decide, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go lay down, the second you isolate yourself, whatever intrusive thoughts you're having are only gonna get worse because you're not doing anything to distract yourself. You're feeding into the negative thoughts that are going through your head. So like what I like to do, like if I'm anxious about something, I'll just instantly start writing music because that will distract me. Like the more I focus on it, and if I actually write something that like I can put real work into, the second it becomes a song, I'm already so deep into it that I forgot about my anxiety. Something else that is really good for that, because for a lot of people it gets worse over time because it'll kind of consume them in a way where they don't want to do anything. So like they'll get like basically a level of depression with it where they're not going to want to leave their house. They're not going to want to do anything besides just be to themselves. But also that's not necessarily the best thing to do, because while it may be hard not to do that, going outside really helps.
Just taking a breather outside, it can absolutely help you.
Like the sun in general on a sunny day, literally scientifically proven to make you feel happier.
Yeah.
I was talking to Ryan about it today because it was beautiful outside today for the first time in like weeks. And yesterday, and tomorrow it's gonna be gorgeous. So we were just sitting outside. Ryan and I were literally on the roof of my house today. We just laid there and we were like, why don't we do this more often? Like why don't we just appreciate nature? Because it's very easy in your life to get caught up with all the stresses of life, whether it's school, work, self projects that you want to complete. It's okay to hold yourself to standards, but don't push yourself, man. Take some time.
Yeah.
Relax. Do something you really love to do. And if that's also your work, great. then that's also a way to dedicate yourself and get rid of your anxiety. But if, you need to go on a walk, take a hike, go get food, just sit outside, do it. Don't. Life is too short to just waste all the good things and sit around and do nothing. Don't. I know it's easier said than done, but really, like, try your best not to let anxiety like that consume you, because
I agree.
It is preventable. And also, if you need to get medical help, there's plenty of great options. I know so many people who it actually does really help them. Personally, for me, I have never gotten like true medical help for that, just because
I've never. Okay, yeah. So also, when I say I have anxiety, I'm like self-diagnosed, but like I'm not like I'm not to say that I'm dumb, but I'm not dumb. Like, it's just like I know if I go, I'm gonna be told that I have generalized anxiety disorder. I'm just like,
anxiety is very easy to self-diagnose.
Yes,
I know a lot of people like shit on other people, like, oh, you haven't gone to a doctor and gotten diagnosed, you're just attention seeking. But anxiety is so fucking easy to detect.
Yeah, there's also like no reason to just go to the doctor and just be like, oh, I have anxiety. Okay, cool. If you're gonna go to the doctor for like to get tested, like you're gonna get tested to see if you can maybe like get some sort of like medication or like maybe therapist. Like it's not. There's no reason if you can handle it well. At least like there's no reason for you to just go to the doctors and be like,
and that's my thing, because I think medication is a great solution for a lot of people, and I think it really does work. For me personally, I kind of like to go through these things and figure it out myself. I don't like to go through it, but I like to figure it out on my own, because
no, but
I like to
damn,
feel
that character development was just at its peak right there. Like
because I like to feel like I can go through these things on my own, and I like to learn from my lessons, because like for me, I think that if I figure it out on my own, then I'll know how to prevent it better in the future without having to rely on external sources. Therapy is great. Medication is great. And for a lot of people, it works. But for me, and this is good advice to people who don't want to take medication or anything like that, too. I think it is really good to figure it out on your own as well.
Yeah.
Because you'll know how to deal with it after that.
Yeah.
And
it'll get easier. Some of these lessons that like anxiety teaches you, they're gonna be a bitch. They're gonna be like Harvard lessons. They're gonna like kick your butt, bro. Literally. It's just I don't even know how to express like the things that I've learned about myself from anxiety, and like the appreciation that I've gotten from it. And and I also think anxiety's really traumatized me, which made me really funny, and I'm truly grateful for that.
Honestly, all things considered, there are really good messages to learn from anxiety. As much as anxiety sucks, it can really like open your mind to appreciating the world more, because if it wasn't for anxiety, I probably wouldn't have wanted to go and work so hard on like having a personal workflow.
I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't be creative. I wouldn't be as creative if I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Like I truly would. I probably would get like a 9-to-5 job, which is not bad. It's just that's truly not for me. Like,
yes. And that's my thing too. Me making music, that is what I want to do for my life. And everybody tells me that is not safe. You got to have a backup plan. You're like, it's a really hard industry. You probably won't succeed. All of which possibly true. However, if it wasn't for anxiety and the things that I've been through, then I wouldn't have the thought in my head that, this world is not worth it if I'm not doing what I want to do. My life will be wasted if I get a regular 9-to-5 job and ignore what my real passion is. You're not going to do what you love. And that doesn't apply to everybody, but for me that certainly applies. And if I didn't have anxiety or any mental issues to really push me through that and show it to me, then I probably wouldn't think this way, which is really shocking. But
and we've had this conversation before. This is honestly the reason why we started this podcast, because I remember having the 5-hour conversation like 3-4 months prior before we started, we were just like talking, and I remember like you and me for some reason, and to this day, if we have a conversation about like what our plans are for the podcast and whatever, we just have like the same mindset, you know, like we say we have the same like goals and ideas and how we're gonna achieve it, and I think that's pretty amazing. But also like for me, like I'm the same way, just with like acting, but like acting and directing, producing, you know, like I just, when like I get like really stressed out or like I need like a depressor, right? That's like the correct word. Sure.
Depressant.
Yeah. Whatever. Like, or just
we're not
like,
English majors.
Yeah, it's no big deal. English isn't my first language, so I literally just write a script, like for a short film, maybe for like a pilot for a TV show coming to you soon.
Let's go.
You know, and I think you're absolutely right. That is the same thing that I do when it comes to like being very stressed out, or if I have like a panic attack, which I'm better with it now. I used to like get them quite frequently, but I think it's been like 3 years since I've gotten my last one. Oh, well, a week ago was actually my last one. But when you said when you're alone and you're not doing anything, it gets worse. It like, at least for like our conditions, like it truly does. Because the reason why I had a panic attack, I was at work, mind you, right? It was super slow, but I had so much going on. We had to record 2 episodes that weekend. I had to go to this concert, and like, I know that's like so stupid, like saying that's like a priority, but like, but you planned it, you know what I mean? Like it's a set plan that you're gonna do that. And I had a bunch of assignments. I had to contact a couple people. I had to figure out I'm moving at the moment, so like that's also just another stress on that. So like I was just thinking about all those like things. I was also thinking about my future, which was like also stressing me out, because I'm like, sometimes I just have a mental breakdown, but like, how can I make it? And then I'm a badass, so I'm gonna make it. And I just remember it was completely dead for like maybe 30 minutes. It was just really boring at work, and I was just standing there just like thinking about everything, and I couldn't like help myself. Like and mine was like, when I get a panic attack, it's not really like you'll notice. You'll know if I have a panic attack. Like it's not like where it's more common when people like just like sit there and like, you know what I mean? Like it's more quiet. Mine's more like a bit obvious, I guess. But like it's not obvious. It's just me, like you can tell that I'm like kind of freaking out, and like I'm moving a lot. So I was just standing in one place, and I'm just like freaking out. I remember like going in my head, just like covering it, just like relax, like you're fine. And it was pretty bad. I think my manager saw and was like, "You can go. You're good.
Oh,
you're
that's
good."
sick, though.
No, shout out to Katie.
Shout out, bro.
Shout
That's
out
a
to
good
Katie,
manager.
bro. No, I actually haven't seen her since last Friday, and today I had work, and I was like, "Yeah, thank you for letting me go, because I just want to let you know I was having a panic attack." She goes, "Yeah, I know." I was like, oh, cool.
Honestly, it is kind of hard to not make it obvious, because a lot of people, the most common things that I see is that people will pace, and that they'll get super quiet, and like I kind of do the same shit. One thing that I do a lot is, I don't know why I do this. It's just like a bad habit at this point. But like, when I have
a panic attack, so
I
don't think it's really a habit.
Literally.
You're kind of forced to do it.
But I'll like put my hand on my heart and feel my heartbeat when I have like a panic attack.
Oh, interesting.
Because like panic attacks just make me feel like I'm having a fucking heart attack. Like my heart will just pound out of my chest, and it's a lot of like, it is a lot in my head, but the physical symptoms that a panic attack brings on bother me more than whatever I'm panicking about.
Oh yeah, like mentally I'm like, I could do it.
Yeah.
But physically I'm like, all right, chill.
But then once I start feeling like that, like you'd be surprised how physical panic attacks are. And when you get them frequently, dude, they take a toll on your body.
They by the end of the day, you're gonna feel exhausted. Absolutely. Yeah, just by having like one that physically was like demanding, you're gonna like be tired by the end of the day.
Yeah, and if you have multiple within a week, by the end of that week, I'm telling you, you're shot, because it really is physically taxing. Your heart races, and your brain is doing so much. You're like, it does make you tired physically. There's so much chemically going on, and that whole all the physical stuff, I'll freak out about one thing in my head, but then by the time 5 minutes go by, whatever that thought was is gone, and now it's just I'm freaking out about the way my body feels when I'm having a panic attack. I'm like, this is so fucking weird.
Yes. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was at work, and I don't remember the exact problem that I was having. I think it was like a script I had to write for my television class, and it's like a live. We were recording it live and posting it, so it was like, oh, maybe not live, but we were recording it so to post it on the website. So, and I was directing, so I'm like, fuck, man, like this is like stressing me out. Like the format was completely different from television one instead of like, and now I'm in television two, so I'm like, fuck, like damn, this is like stressing me out. And I'm at work, I'm like, I truly cannot do anything about it. So I don't know why I was panicking about it. Like I had time because you said we weren't recording that Friday, which was fine. Like you told me like I think the day before, which was like giving me a heads up. But for some reason, my mom was like, it's time for a mental breakdown, baby. It's time for you to just like feel like you're dying.
Dude, I get that because I'll be doing something that is totally
sorry. I'm not laughing because like it's funny, but like no, it is funny. Like for me, it's like my panic attack. It's just funny to watch back.
I feel like in hindsight, all the things that you freak out about, eventually you realize how stupid it is.
Yeah, like it's not stupid to have them. Yeah, but it's like stupid to look back on. You're like, that's embarrassing. Why did I do that?
Can I tell you a funny story? Actually,
go for it.
This is gonna be proof as to how fucking dumb it can be, but how real it is for a lot of people. I'm telling you, this is going to be the single most dumbest panic attack story you've ever heard in your life. I think it's fucking hilarious. So, I was really this is around the time that my grandmother had passed away. Mm-hmm. So I was really on edge for like a few months, and I'm so hesitant to even tell this.
No, me too. When I was talking about my panic attack,
but this one's really dumb. So I was watching the animated Avengers series in bed at like 2 a.m. Okay.
Wait. Sorry. Continue.
And in that episode, what happened?
Oh my god! No. Sorry, I think I know. Just continue.
So basically, the moon blew up in that episode, and basically it was like an end of the world situation in the episode. There were like tsunamis everywhere and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, wow, I am on a floating space rock. And if one thing goes wrong with the moon, I'll just be dead. Like my whole life revolves around the laws of nature and the laws of physics. And that freaked me out.
I knew it. I knew it was that.
I had the worst panic attack I've ever had in my life. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I literally went to the ER because I was that panicking that bad.
Wow.
Over a fucking Avengers
I knew it was
animated
that too.
series.
I didn't think it was the moon. Yeah, but I just knew it was like some sort of like natural event that just like freaked you out. Because
that freaks me out. No, everybody who knows me knows that like I think it's really cool and I love talking about it. Mm-hmm. But on the contrary, when I really think about it, and I'm like, oh my god, I live on a floating space rock in the middle of nowhere, and the nothingness just keeps getting bigger. And you just think about that, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, that freaks me out. But yeah, no, dumbest panic attack story ever over the Avengers animated series.
Completely understandable.
This is proof though that the worst physical reactions can literally come from nothing. Like nothing. And you'll look back and be like, that was so dumb.
Anxiety ain't real. Damn, are you sure? Because it really be affecting my life a whole lot.
I can't even watch the Avengers no more.
Literally, like, y'all, like, what do you mean it's not real? No, but I actually want to see if we have like any similarities when it comes to like.
Okay.
So for me, a panic attack starts off by, as we talked about, freaking out about a certain thing. But for me, it then branches out to a lot, and then I'm like, moving a lot. Then I'm realizing I'm moving a lot, and then if there's people around, I'm just like, now I'm like cautious about myself and like people are looking at me but no one's looking at me. But I'm still thinking people are looking at me.
Yeah.
And then it's starts with my mind racing like way faster than usual, and normal pace it's still pretty fast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then my heart, or not my heart, my chest gets like a bit like tight. So I'm like, fuck, chill. And then I, like, for some reason, I just, like, forget to breathe or something. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, chill. Don't make noises because people are going to, like, listen. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, you're, scared. Like, it's so embarrassing, like, to talk about, you know what I mean? But it's just pretty common.
It's so humanistic. It's like, but
so it's like, that's what happens in public.
Okay.
But I had a panic attack again. I think it was like Monday night, this past Monday night. Okay. And let me tell you, right before going to bed, my anxiety just wants to have.
That's when it hits, man. That's
literally,
when it hits.
That's when it truly. Because I'm like, all right, it's time to go to. I have to. If I want to go to bed at a certain time, I have to do it an hour before, because I'm in bed. I'm like, oh my god. The world's gonna end. I'm gonna die.
Literally.
I'm like, I'm gonna die. I think about like every traumatic moment that's ever happened in my life. I think about every single embarrassing moment that happens in my life.
Oh, it's the worst when you suddenly remember an embarrassment.
No, especially with like my anxiety. If I think about an embarrassment, I'm like, you're so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why would you ever?
You want to
that?
go back and change it, but then
don't you? Can't. Yeah, and then like your body is like clenching. I'm like, you can't do anything about it. but this past Monday it was a bit rough because I think it was like triggered by like a television show because it was just like really like hardcore and had to deal with like mental illness, and I was like, for some reason, like, but usually I'm okay with that. Like usually like it helps me. I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. Like people are always so like, you know, but for some reason I think it was just really triggering because I felt like it was really realistic.
Yeah.
And it had to do with like something similar that happened in like my life. So I think that even like triggered me a bit more. And I just remember like right before I go to bed, I was in bed and then I was like, okay, wait, I don't feel, there's something just not right. So I went to the bathroom, splashed my face with water a little bit so I can like cool off, drank water, and then I went back and then I don't know when I realized, but I did that at 2 a.m. And then I guess I was pacing back for a while, just thinking about everything. And then it was like 2:45, like 45 minutes of me not realizing that I'm just like thinking about everything, just walking back and forth. And then I was just getting really overwhelmed. And I remember just like breaking down. I sat on my bed. I was like, chill out. Like, you're okay. Like, Mario, you're fine. Yeah. Stop freaking out, bro. Yeah. Like, and to calm myself down, I kind of like, it's a little silly, but I like hug myself and I'm like rubbing like my arms. I'm like, you're fine. Like, and then I start rocking back and forth too. And I'm like, you're fine. Like, you're okay. You're fine. So then when I'm like cool, like calming down, I lay in my bed and like close my eyes. But then I'm like, no, you're still not okay. So I'm like, I still hug myself. I get comfortable, the most comfortable position, which is like probably like laying on my back. That's like the most comfortable position. And I'm like, you're fine. You're like, fine. You're fine. And then I don't like admitting this, but like I cried straight up. I just started crying. I was like, you're fine. And I was like, all right. And I guess I just woke up the next day. That was the next memory. I don't know.
So, okay. With both of those, I have some similarities and some differences.
Okay.
Similarities is that in both situations, whether or not I'm with people, chest tightness is definitely a thing, and pacing is definitely a thing. I will almost certainly do both of those when I'm with people.
I won't pace as much when I'm around people. You know, like I think like it's more like in a little tiny circle.
Yeah.
And then if it's by myself in my room, that room became like a freaking track field, bro.
Yeah, but the one thing that I don't experience is when I'm with people, I don't get worried about whether or not they're noticing, and I don't get worried about the way they think of me.
Oh, okay.
But I would attribute that to me just being generally very open about these things, because I feel like, especially with people I'm like really close to, like I talk about this kind of stuff a lot, and like if I'm feeling a certain way, like usually I'll just like come out and say it. I try my best not to hide it, especially with Ev. Like, if I am feeling something, like she's gonna know that I'm feeling.
Oh
it.
yeah.
I'm not.
I feel like sometimes you also like show it. Like you're just like you're not like you're upset, just like, you just don't feel
Yeah, like when I'm in a
right. You know
bad
what I
mood,
mean?
it's like kind of easy to tell that I'm in a bad mood because I'll just be like very, just like mellowed out and just like
You're just like, yeah, okay, shut up talking to me. Stop talking to
yeah,
me.
yeah, literally. But yeah, no, when I'm alone, the going to bed thing and realizing that I'm not okay is very, very
It's scary.
yeah.
It's scary,
I
bro.
used to
I
get
think I'm gonna die.
so yeah. No, that's literally what
That's
panic
it.
attacks
I
feel like.
literally just feel like I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I used to get so worried to go to sleep because I had like a really bad anxiety trigger because I used to get sleep paralysis all the time.
Wait, can you explain what that is?
Okay, so sleep paralysis, right? Um, it happens to only a handful of people. I
Yeah.
don't know a ton of people who've gotten it,
Hmm.
but usually, so basically the way it works is you are kind of caught in between the stage of fully falling asleep and being awake. So you kind of are, you kind of like, as you're falling asleep and you're still conscious, you just get a very heavy feeling and eventually you can't move like at all.
Oh.
Like you, cause you know how when you
Oh,
sleep,
but you're conscious.
yeah, like you know how when you sleep, like really deep sleep, your body kind of like paralyzes itself so that you're not like thrashing around and like you can't really control your movements when you're asleep like
Yeah.
that. Like you're not aware of
Hmm.
everything you're doing. And the reason for that is so that you're not like, like rolling around and throwing yourself off the bed when you're sleeping and stuff like that. That's just something your body naturally does. But sometimes you can get caught in between the stages, so you'll be awake, but you'll become paralyzed. So it doesn't necessarily feel like being fully awake,
Hmm.
which is weird. It's like almost like a foggy dream. However, you're fully conscious. Like you can like try and move your limbs,
Oh.
but it won't work.
But
You can
do you
look
start
around.
freaking out because you can't move?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like the first time I got it, I got really scared because
Oh,
like I
wow.
was like, what the fuck? Like you don't know what's happening
No, yeah,
because
because
you
you
can
don't
look
know what's going on,
and it's weird. The only part of your body you can move is your eyes. So like your eyes will be open, and
And you're just
if you
like-
were looking at them from outside, like if you were watching them, you'd be able to see their eyes move. Like you're awake, like you're looking, but you can't move. And a lot of times people will hallucinate with it. So
And-
they'll start like
oh, yeah,
they'll start
yeah.
like real life dreaming, but most of the time for a lot of people it's like scary things.
Yeah,
like,
like
it's-
it's like a creature.
yeah, like
No,
a
I know.
creature or a
Yeah,
ghost
I've
or
heard about
noises.
this. Yeah.
I used to get it very frequently. Like there was a
Oh,
point of
really?
time where I got it every night for like weeks on end.
Oh, whoa.
So
when was the weeks on end one?
Like
what age?
this I was probably 14, 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really
Wow.
bad. So like I would just be laying there and then eventually a feeling like if it happened to me now, I would be able to tell before it even happened. I'd be
Mhm.
able to catch myself because you just get a really numb feeling like as you're falling asleep, and it's hard to differentiate it between like just regularly falling asleep and sleep paralysis. But then you'll realize like, oh wait, I'm not sleeping, but I can feel my body numbing. So then you just can't move. And I remember the first time it happened to me, I was looking around and I was like, bro, what is going on? And I was freaking
Oh
out.
my
I was trying to
God.
scream, but obviously you can't scream. So you'll like
Oh.
you'll like try to vocalize and like yell
Oh,
for
so
people.
do you feel like do you feel like you're attempting to scream but you're not
Yeah.
able to? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
like you feel like you're trying to, but you can't.
Oh, so like none of your like, so you can't move anything like outside of your body,
Nope.
but like inside you can feel like what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah, like you can
Oh.
feel pressure in your chest. Most people feel pressure in
Well,
their
yeah,
chest,
that makes sense.
and you can
Yeah.
like you can try and wiggle your limbs. Like you can
Mhm.
literally feel your muscles try and move,
Wow.
but they're not going anywhere.
Wow.
So I the first night I didn't know what to do. I was like screaming and like
Mhm.
eventually it ends eventually, like, but I kind of just had to ride the whole thing out. So then as it kept
Can I
happening,
ask- oh, sorry.
eventually
Sorry.
Oh yeah, okay. So eventually, as it began happening more, I closing my eyes so that I couldn't see anything, because you can control whether or not your eyes are open.
Oh, okay.
So I would just close my eyes.
That's what
and
I was
would
gonna ask.
hear noises, but I would just keep my eyes closed. There was this one really weird instance of it where I was somehow able to pull myself off my bed, but it was like I was like pulling, like I was like grabbing furniture and like pulling myself out the bed, and I went to turn on this light right here, and when I flicked the switch, I fully woke up, but I was back in bed. Whoa. And the lights were off.
Whoa, that's crazy. Like, genuinely. But that's what I was gonna ask. I was like, how did it end, or like how? But like,
eventually, I think the reason I got it so much is kind of because I was afraid of it, so I was expecting it. And I think
so
that's
like,
why I got
like,
it so
mindset
much.
was just
yeah,
like ready for it.
I think I like tricked myself into getting it all the time.
You're like,
yeah. But eventually it wasn't that bad, because I kind of learned how to control it. So a really easy way to get out of it is you have to start wiggling your fingers and toes.
Did you look it up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you have to, and it works. Like, this is how I would usually get out of it, and how I still get out of it. You have to start wiggling your fingers and toes, and you have to start trying to like thrash your body, and eventually it'll work. Like, eventually you'll just like fold over, and you'll like wake up. But that's like what it takes. Like, like eventually you'd regain control of like your hands when you keep wiggling. Like, eventually you'll feel yourself being able to move, and then you have to like thrash yourself off. And like now I can control it really well. I can literally feel myself. If I'm going to have it, I will stop myself before I have it. But when I was getting it all the time and I didn't know how to prevent it before it happened yet, it almost got like kind of fun at a point, because I learned how to control myself in it so deeply that I wasn't afraid of it. I kind of thought it was cool. So I just like sat there and I was like, I can't move, but I wonder what I can do. People who learn on purpose and induce it onto themselves, because if you can get past it and learn how to control it, you can like physically lucid dream. And you know how like people lucid dream and they can control what's happening in their dreams. You can do it like physically, like in your real world with the things you're seeing. Like, you can hallucinate a real
situation.
Yeah. And like that's sick.
Dope. Yeah,
I haven't done that, but like I've gotten to the point where I can just lay there and just like kind of enjoy the weirdness about it and be calm while it's happening, which is kind of a cool thing. But yeah, that's how it ended. I just ended up like overcoming it.
Well, can I ask, when was like the last time you got one?
I almost fell into one. I almost fall into them quite often. Like I will prevent myself from going into it pretty often. So I'd say like maybe a week or two ago, I almost went into one, but I forced myself out.
You're like, not this time.
Yeah, I did have to go to the doctor because it like really.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it really
I
scared
just
me.
wouldn't be able to like get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, no, because I was like, Duck, what's happening? I'm hallucinating. One time I saw a girl, like a horror movie girl in a white gown in the corner of my bedroom, and like
the girl from The Ring.
Yeah, just like that, like in the corner of my room and like moving towards my like the foot of my bed, and like I would hear like little girl laughing in my ear, and like I'd see shadows walking out of these doors and shit like that.
I think I would shit myself.
Oh yeah, it was the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. One time I got sucked into my bed, like the mattress swallowed me, and then I woke up. The hallucinations are like really insane.
Wow. And
like you're not in any actual harm, and obviously none of that's happening.
Yeah.
But like it's so strange.
Yeah. So with this whole lucid dreaming thing, I feel as though my dreams are more like lucid dreams and more like very, very realistic when it comes to it. But when my like anxiety is like really, maybe not really bad, but just like I was just anxious that day. When I go to sleep, like my mind just won't stop either. So when I'm sleeping, my dreams are like very realistic.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're like good dreams, but like other times, of course, they could be like nightmares.
Yeah.
And they're like pretty realistic. I think oh my gosh, it's like pretty bad. I think I was like surviving the zombie apocalypse.
That's a fun dream though. Those are always pretty fun dreams. Zombie apocalypse.
I don't know about
dreams?
this one, Chief.
Zombie apocalypse dreams, because you know I've been playing a lot of zombie video games.
Well, yeah, you could be shooting. Yeah, but in the stream I wasn't. Actually, looking back at it now, I was kind of badass in the stream.
Yeah, bro.
I was like, I survived. I mean, I was killing everybody, but there was like this really one traumatic part where it felt as though like my sister was getting attacked. So I literally just like I started beating the shit out of everyone who's like
Bruh.
coming at her, bro. But then I realized she got like bitten.
Oh, do you have to kill her?
No, I didn't kill her in the dream.
Okay.
God no.
Okay.
That's no. If I had to kill my sister in my dream, I would find someone to help me.
Yeah,
Because
I already said this on the podcast, but one time I had a dream where I murdered my whole family.
You have never said that on the podcast.
Yeah, one time I had a dream where I murdered my entire family in their sleep with a hatchet.
So, did you like talk to someone about this?
No.
I think that you should have.
I mean, I'd obviously never do it. I think it was just a freak dream, but I just murdered.
When you woke up, were you scared?
Yeah.
No.
No,
Okay. Thank God. Thank God.
I was like dry heaving because I literally watched myself cut my family members' heads off with a hatchet in my dream.
Oh my God.
Even my 12-year-old sister. I just.
Okay, so yeah, for my dream, I didn't kill anybody who wasn't already dead.
Okay,
But
that's good.
I think at one point I did kick my sister. I was like, "Why aren't you running?" So I kicked her, but I kicked her like a football field away. I'm like, "All right, I'll catch up."
He gave her the super punt.
Yeah, but like she was fine. Like when she landed, she was landed like on her feet. Like she wasn't like.
Oh, bro. She healed, man.
Yeah, she's set for life.
Yeah, bro. She can take that. She can take anything.
Yeah. I actually wanted to take a moment to talk about depression now because I feel like we talked a lot about anxiety and the two do go in hand in hand a lot. I don't know if you've ever experienced like a depressive episode, but like I've had like a couple of those. Like I know I don't have depression. Well, I can't really say that because I'm not a doctor, but
Yeah.
I have had like really bad like depressive episodes. Like I think I've had like I don't even know the number, but I remember last year it was like the same time actually. You know the situation where I like was really just down bad, but like not for women.
Let's go.
Let's go. But like I was just going through like a very traumatic event because it was like the first time I was like ever gone through this. So I remember just like feeling so like low, and it wasn't with my anxiety because usually I'm pretty good with handling my anxiety. Usually I'm like what you do, like I've like distracted myself, like I hang out with friends, I write a script, I make a TikTok video, follow my TikTok, but I remember this depressive episode lasted maybe like a month, like just my mind was just so down in the dumps. It was like the longest I've ever had that type.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe not a month. It was more like maybe like 2.5 weeks. But I remember I skipped a lot of classes during that time. I remember just really crying a lot during this time too by myself in my room. I stopped going to work without even like calling. And they were like really upset, but like after I obviously told them what was going on because I just had to without getting fired. So I was like, yeah, I'm just like really down right now. I just don't know what to do. I'm sorry. I just cannot go. And the same thing for school. I didn't tell them until after the depressive episode, which kind of screwed me over, but my grades didn't really suffer that much. And I remember it was interesting because it was basically the opposite of like the anxiety, where it was more like my mind isn't really racing. It's more like just dead and like at one point just like thinking about one thing.
Yeah.
And I was very mellow, and I remember it wasn't anxiety where I was like going through it at night right before I go to sleep. It was as soon as I woke up where it really hit me. I woke up and I'm like, there's just no possible way for me to get up, and it was so difficult. And I mean like I guess I have my steps now. I know how to like do it. Like I never wanted to like self-harm or like commit suicide, but I just remember I was like, wow, this like really sucks, and this feels like it's taking forever to like really get over it. So I don't know if you've ever like experienced that type.
I've definitely had very depressive episodes. Especially in middle school. There was just like some pretty traumatic things that happened. So I definitely did have depressive episodes. I'm not gonna go like too deep into the extent because for me it's very personal, and I only talk to like a handful of people about that kind of thing. However, I will say, yeah, like it definitely was really, really bad for me for a while. I completely agree with like it being like a one thought kind of thing rather than like In contrast to anxiety, I feel like it's my mind isn't racing with like intrusive thoughts. It's more of me thinking to myself like, how am I gonna get out of this? Like
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to do this anymore.
It's basically for me. It was like the trauma that I'm just thinking about, and then I'm like, how am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
And how it was just, or like how to solve. Yeah,
Like
it was
it's
interesting.
like it was really hard because it's just like like one of the things I thought about most is like just like how do I go on with my day to day? Like how do I just ignore it and then just like be normal? And I always thought that it was like there was something like super wrong with me because it was really bad in contrast to a lot of people, and I at the time I felt bad going to people for help. Um, I definitely had to. It got really bad. There was a point where I was having frequent meetings with my guidance counselor in middle school about me just being like super depressed. And even in middle school, I was having thoughts like it wasn't worth it, and you know, just really bad things like that. But yeah, I agree with like every point you've said on it. It's definitely a lot less like anxiety where like
It's like fast paced.
yeah, it's definitely not fast paced. It makes your life feel super slow.
Yeah.
And like you wake up every morning and you're like, well, here we go again. It's not like nighttime where you're like, oh my god, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? Like what if I'm not successful? Yada yada yada. Like intrusive thoughts like that. It's literally just you wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't want to do another day of this.
Well, yeah, me and my dad, like, actually my dad like really helped me through that more than my mom, because my mom, again, is just not really knowledgeable about mental health. So she just thought it was like, pray it away, which is like not the best thing to say to someone.
Yeah.
But I remember going to my dad and we like related a little bit because he understands, because he's like he I don't know if he's gone through like a depressive episode, but I know he's gone through like really bad mental states. And I like it's so weird because when I wake up, I'm just laying there. I just look at the ceiling. I'm just like, why can't I just get up? Like, why? I remember not answering the phone at all. Like, the text messages, Snapchat, DMs, like emails from school asking if I'm okay because I got worried because I wasn't showing up. All of a sudden, um, my relationships. Honestly, that was the one thing that I was very shocked about. But I think I'm also just surrounded by people who like really love me or whatever, and then
Yeah.
also just like understand because they've also gone through like things like this. So I'm not gonna lie, like if it wasn't for my dad, my friends, my work being understanding and my school being understanding, I truly like I'm truly am like very privileged when it came to that, because
Yeah.
a lot of situations people are just like, I don't have any of that, so what's the point on basically continuing,
Yeah.
and it does bring them to a point where it's just too much.
Yeah. Um I've known people who have been in that kind of situation where it's just really hard for them to have somebody to go to, and it is quite upsetting. But you know, if you're also somebody who is on the receiving end of like somebody going to you for help, like you know, please do your best to help them because everybody's
It could truly mean
struggles.
everything.
Yeah, everybody's struggles are real, and definitely don't downplay anything they're feeling. Everybody's struggles are real, no matter how intense they may seem to you. They Everything is very different for everybody. You know, everybody goes through different things, and I hate when people like compare their level of
Oh god.
trauma or
Oh
things
my
that they've
god.
been
That
through,
makes
and
me so mad.
yeah, they're like, oh well, I went through this,
You
so
should be
like,
using that to help them feel not alone, not
yeah,
for you to be like, well, you shouldn't be sad
yeah.
for
Don't
I'm going through it
compare.
right now.
Yeah,
Like what?
don't compare your experiences with other people because they're very different. This episode has been going on quite long, so I think a good way to end it would, and a great way to sum all of this up, would be, please don't feel afraid to reach out to people who you love and that you know love you. Don't be afraid to reach out to them for help, and don't be afraid to tell people how you really feel. It's definitely a hard thing to do. Definitely easier said than done. However, there are plenty of great ways to try and make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
And every time you think that there isn't a way out, and every time you think that it's not worth it, trust me,
it'll get better.
There's
always improvement.
Yeah, there's a way to go. There are things to do.
Every time there's a low, better. There's a high.
Yeah.
A quote that really truly helped me was, every day you're going to do your best, but every day your best will look different every single time. And that's the truth. You know, yeah. Some days a success could be just literally getting out of bed.
Yeah.
And other days success could mean that you accomplished a lot of work that you're supposed to do. And I don't want anybody to ever like feel like they should give up, because that's never the answer, and there's always solutions. Also, like, reach out to us, you know. Majority, like, for right now, like, our fan base, majority of you guys are our friends, and we're so down to have like a convo with you and just to make sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
And to our future listeners, we got you.
We got you.
I promise you.
In the end, if you don't think anybody loves you,
we love
remember
you.
That we do.
You might be the worst person on the planet, but we love you.
We love you. We are very, very thankful for you guys. If you think that nobody is, trust us. We are very thankful for you.
Also, a big shout out to all our friends who have helped me and Jacob get through tough times. And
shout out to all you guys.
I love you guys.
You guys just watching this and listening to this.
Damn, this
helps
was
us.
This was like very heartwarming. I don't think you and me have ever had this like deep of a talk.
It was very good.
Should we hug it out? We've never hugged before. Wait, chill.
All right, you know what? No, he don't want to hug.
No, I do. It's just we've never hugged before. It's crazy.
We'll save it for after. We'll make it real sentimental. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. All right. Love you guys.
We love you. Stay safe out there, y'all. Peace out.